Hello, Julie.
Hey, yo, I am so pumped today that we are getting prepped for the holiday season and summer in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It is misty today. I am streaming from Sunset Beach. And Julie, you've got a new location.
Yes, I do. I just moved over here to Belmont Shore in Long Beach. So, this is a very important topic for living by the beach in such a loud and busy neighborhood, constant people walking by, garbage trucks. So, whether your dog is fearful or they're young or you're moving locations, all of those things, we're going to bring it all together to give you some strategies to help kind of regulate that stress and make sure that you're prepared for the loudest holiday of the year.
It is yeah. So do me a favor, you guys. If you are watching live, go ahead and drop in the comments below. Hello. Can can you hear us and all of that? If you could drop that below. If you have any questions at any time, just type the letter Q with a colon and we will respond to your questions. But let's go ahead and get started. We are here of a 5-day challenge. Hello, Holly. 5-day challenge, which means we have 4 more days after this. So each day we're going to bring you some information. We're going to ask you to commit to training with your dog so that you can help your dog whether they're fearful, like Julie said, whether they're adolescent, a puppy, you just don't want them to be fearful. Whatever that reason is, we're asking for full on commitment from anyone and everyone. And this is a free 5-day challenge. So please spread the word so that we don't have even one dog in our community that goes missing. Sound good?
Awesome. And maybe your dog has never had an issue with sounds, but that being prepared ahead of time, it's not only for safety, it's there just in case things change, just in case your dog is going through a sensitive period. We want to provide this for any time during their life that you can use this. We're going to talk about the myriad of sounds that this process really helps with.
Absolutely. So I am Yo Armendariz. I'm the owner of Canine Learning Academy, and I'm going to let Julie introduce herself. But before I do that, I pretty much run the back end of Canine Learning Academy. And Julie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Julie Fryman, and I am the company supervisor. So those of you who are in our school or private or just kind of coming in to see what we're doing today, you're going to see my name or my face all over Facebook because I'm kind of the broad spectrum, and Yo is always got my back and putting together all of this creative challenge stuff and making everything look fabulous. So we have been a team for about 5 years now and been doing this challenge at least every year to make sure that all of the dogs in our community are as safe as possible.
And we do have a free ebook that is going to be downloadable. We're in the process of still adding to it because we have revised it. Like Julie said, we have done this several times. So this year is going to have some more tips and more tricks that you guys are going to get. So be sure to join us tomorrow and we will be dropping that link to your free ebook so that you can pass it on to your family, your friends, anybody that you might, somebody's there, right? So anybody that you might be, running into. All right. So how you doing, Julie? You okay?
Yeah, this is a perfect example. Someone just came by with a big loud truck, so I'm handling that for just a second.
You know what? It's great timing. Loud noises doesn't have to be fireworks. Loud noises can be anything that triggers your dog to respond in a way that shows that your dog's a little stressed out. So Julie, do you have a UPS truck there? Oh no, someone's at the door. I see Opal.
Yeah, Amazon just got here. So common problem that everyone, at least in my life, knows. I'm an Amazon addict. Someone comes up, they knock on the door and they leave right away. So of course we get some big loud noises as well.
Oh, awesome. So drop it in the chat. Is it just fireworks? Is that what brought you here today? Or does your dog get scared of other noises? Is there other sounds that elicit this kind of response that you go, I'm going to take the time to see what's going on and what I can do about it. I'd love to hear from you. So Julie is out. Right? And that's kind of what we do when our dogs are stressed out. We're going to have to respond with, let me take care of what I can do. For some of us, firework 4th of July is just not even a holiday that we celebrate. Or if okay, she's back. There we go. All right, you're muted.
Little bit of management there. Just have to. I will say, Holly, who is joining us, Lena was totally quiet during that Amazon trip. So be proud of your dog that she didn't respond.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit. I know we're going to go over this in just a second. So tell me a little bit about the new environment that you are in right now. What is it like? How different is it?
Yeah, so before I was living in Huntington Beach in an apartment that was like way set back in the back, all the way shady, not a lot of foot traffic. And now we live in Belmont Shore, which if you are familiar with Long Beach, this is a very active neighborhood. I live 2 blocks from the beach, so year round we've got people dragging coolers and chairs. We've got homeless people that are constantly walking around with cans, loud trucks. Yesterday we had a parade, right? It was Pride Festival here in Belmont Shore. So lots of bells and whistles and yelling, people constantly shouting in my neighborhood, whether it's a super happy thing or they're upset at the traffic. But being in this neighborhood has been a really big shift for my dogs as well. So it's a process of making sure that they're comfortable in this new environment. We did just move here a month ago. So being, super patient and making sure that they feel safe, because a lot of times what's underneath all of that barking is they don't always feel safe. They feel sensitive. Their emotions are going everywhere. So we want to just kind of go over the barking is more of a symptom of what's going on. There's lots of other things.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
If we get down below what's actually causing the barking, it can be a lot easier to be understanding and patient with your dog instead of just saying, shut up or stop barking, so that we can, be prepared to support them and help change it from the bottom up.
So just a few seconds, I'm going to go over what we're going to cover in our 5-day challenge and why we broke it down into small bite-sized pieces. But let's just address this. Why are some dogs more fearful of sound than others? And there's 4 main reasons. And Julie, you're going to jump in just a second. Acute hearing, a negative or something happened kind of thing around a sound. Lack of socialization, which if anybody got a dog during COVID, this is where you might fall into. And then genetics, amongst other reasons. So let's go through each of these reasons. So starting with acute hearing. So what does that actually mean, Julie?
That means that your dog can hear miles away, meaning what we hear maybe in our backyard, they're hearing your neighbor down the street in the pool in their backyard. So we need to be really understanding that we may not always hear things, but our dogs do. And when things are closer to us, like next door fireworks or the neighbors are having a party, it's way more dramatic for them than it is for us. So again, being understanding, being prepared, being patient, that your dog is experiencing an overstimulation, a sound overload of what's going on out in your neighborhood.
And I find certain dogs have better hearing than others. I mean, we could talk about breeds for days, but it's not just the breeds, but genetically, some dogs have been handed down anything that their parents were afraid of, right? We see that all the time. We saw that in the Aussie litter that we had several of their dogs. So talk about genetics and how that can.
If you really want to go into some nerd stuff, Google epigenetics, because this is how this is how our dogs inherit behaviors, not just all the medical stuff that you get the paperwork from the breeder or from a rescue or a shelter. There's lots of stuff going inside of their brain, and our dogs' parents and even their grandparents can pass on fears, anxiety, stressors, separation anxiety. A lot of these things are built into their DNA. So it's not always a quick fix, like we can turn it off. A lot of times we're dealing with generations worth of behavioral struggles. So, even as a young puppy, if you're here and your puppy is under 4 months, like, let's get all of this going right away, because you could be dealing, no matter how well bred or how amazing you did in the socialization process, there still could be some leftover anxiety.
Absolutely. And we see this all the time, which is why some of the questions we might ask if you are bringing home a puppy, will ask you to ask the breeder, can you tell us a little bit more about the parents? How do they do during a thunderstorm? Do they hide? So those are some really key questions that if you can find out and discover, that possibly that could have been passed down. And then negative experience or associations with. So, for example, my dog, Bentley, did great first 4.5, 5 years of his life. And then when I moved to where Julie is now living, I have moved to 3 different places along that Long Beach strip on Ocean Boulevard. And one of the places, we were living on the Long Beach Grand Prix track, literally living there. I got to see them all just set up for that. And I thought it was amazing as a human. I was like, wow, this is like a once in a lifetime experience. People pay thousands of dollars to get tickets like this. And here I am. I've got the best seat in the house.
Literally, over your balcony.
Yeah. I got to see a sunset, a sunrise, and the Grand Prix all at once. But for my dog, that noise for 10 days straight, as they're warming up, as they're practicing, as they're going in day after day for however many days that was, I think it was 10 straight days. Bentley ended up being a completely different dog when it came to that kind of sound. So now when we're walking and he hears someone revving up their engine, I see the same signs that I saw when we were living in Long Beach, which was stress. He gave me every indication that he was stressed. And before that, fireworks, none of that made any difference. Now, any loud noise that is even at that kind of measurement of loudness has triggered a response to Bentley where he hides, runs away, finds, tries to get back inside the house if he can, will not go walking, all of that stuff, panting, shaking, all of that happened from an experience that happened in Long Beach, which is why this subject is so sensitive to me, because I am committed to doing the training. And I want anybody that has a dog that feels the same way to be able to implement that training. It comes from us. We have to be the ones that step in and say, I am going to commit to doing the training. I am committed to understanding why you're acting this way. You're not doing it because you don't like to go out for a walk. It's because you're afraid, right? All right. So let's go ahead and just kind of go over what we're going to cover. We're going to cover 2 big things today. Mainly, that's not so bad, which means whatever your dog is sensitive to on that sound, whatever sound that is. So whether it's cars going by, the motorcycle kickback, dogs barking, or fireworks, that is considered, that's your dog's trigger, your dog's sound. And what we're going to do today, we're going to go over helping your dog take that sound and going, okay, that's not that bad. The second thing, and this happens after your dog takes that volume, whatever volume of that sound is, and says, all right, that's not so bad. Then And only then can we progress to the next step, which is changing the way they actually feel about that sound. We cannot change the way they feel about that sound if the moment we even touch that dial and they're sensitive to that sound, meaning they're telling you, Mom, Dad, I am stressed. Please help it stop. But once you can get to the point where your dog goes, okay, that's not so bad, then we can progress to the very next step. And that's what we're going to do over the next 5 days. We are not only going to help your dog be okay with that sound, we're actually going to try and change the way they emotionally feel about that sound. So that the next time they hear that sound, instead of ears back, running back to the house, instead of that, they're going, whew, it's that sound again, right? So that's our goal. So over the 5-day period, we broke it down into 5 different days because we really wanted to address one thing at a time. And we're going to give you activity to do. I am asking for 100% commitment. If you're watching this, it's because it's important to you. It's important to you to help your dog. So I'm asking, and Julie's asking, we are asking for 100% commitment this week over a 5-day period. Beyond that, totally, it's fine. All right, Julie is off the grid for a second. That's fine. So over the 5 days, day 1, we're going to actually today help your dogs reduce their stress around that loud noise. You get to choose whatever that loud noise is based on what your dog, whatever their trigger is. Day 2, so day 1 was less sensitive. Day 2 is actually changing the emotional response. Instead of playing that sound and them going, oh my God, get me out of here. Instead of that, it's, oh, that kind of response. So changing from a fearful negative response to a positive response. We're going to do that over day 2 and day 3. So day 2 is the introduction. Day 3 is we're going to give you even more things to do with your dog. You're going to be able to take everything that we're giving you and spread it out because we are starting in the 2nd week of June. That means that you've got at least 2.5 to 3 weeks to implement this. And again, this can be transferred over to whatever it is that your dog is sensitive around when it has to do with sound. Day 4, we're going to talk about creating a safe space. So this talks about basically like, we're giving you time to implement this training right now, and it really does need to start today. But let's just say you don't have time. Let's just say that you didn't get to watch this recording until a week before the 4th of July. We're going to then go into create your safe space right now, right? Because that is what needs to happen after the fact that just in case they don't end up feeling a little bit better about the sound, we got to give your dog a safe space. And then day 5, I've got a special guest coming in who's going to talk about, well, anyways, it's a special guest. We're going to leave that to a surprise, but we're going to be talking to day 5 about medication, asking some key questions to your veterinarian. If you're going to be seeing a vet, you're going to know after today's challenge. If you do today's activity and you notice that your dog doesn't respond, you might need to go get medication. If that's the case, you need to go see your vet pretty quickly, pretty soon, like 2 to 3 weeks before the event. We're also going to talk about prevention, emergency, recovery, if your dog goes missing, all of that on day 5. All right, so let's dive on into day 1. Glad to have you back, Julie.
Yeah, there's some activity out front. Our neighbors were trying to get our attention, so all good now. But this is Opal Blossom, who you're hearing in the background, and super sensitive to the doorbell, right? So you guys are getting a little taste of her vocalization during the doorbell and things, even on the TV lately. And it may be because we've moved and she's a little bit more sensitive. Her stress is a little bit higher. So what we want to do is talk about reducing that stress around all kinds of loud noises, whether it's the doorbell or loud trucks or fireworks. And because it's a lot of times, it's so consistent. Like Yo was saying, 10 full days of sound. Here we have parties that have already started for weeks. Things have been going, popping off. And so we want to just be really conscious about the length of time of exposure as well.
So today's focus is on helping your dogs reduce their stress around one loud noise. All right. So that is today's focus. So how do you know what sound to start with? How do you know if your dog is overly sensitive to a particular sound? Now, there are going to be some sounds like the UPS, truck driver coming by that elicits your dog barking that you might be with, okay, that's on the lower of the priorities. I want you to choose a different noise, a noise that really elicits a response to, my dog looks really stressed out. So for me, it's going to be the very loud sound of fireworks. I've got a dog who has my, Bandit, who's a puppy still. I'm going to call him Puppy forever just because he's a small dog.
Yeah.
But how do we know what our dogs are sensitive to? And we can ask these three main questions. And even if some of you may have a puppy that you wanted to implement this kind of training to, you're not quite sure. Some of you have a dog with a problem with a particular noise, but they seem to be handling some things okay, some things not so okay. I want you to really go through these three questions and ask yourself and write this down, and then you're going to know. How is your dog responding to the particularly noise that you're asking them to respond to? So what's going on? So let's just talk about fireworks for now. If they hear the noise of fireworks, what are they actually doing? How are they responding?
Yeah, and what does that look like? Instead of being scared or upset, we want to know exactly what your dog is physically doing.
So what is your dog actually doing? Are their ears perking up? Are they listening to the sound and trying to track it? Are they barking once or twice like we saw Opal do when someone was at the door? Once or twice? Are they running to the back room and hiding? Are they shaking? Are they barking for a long period of time? So I'm going to ask that question one more time, and then you're going to I would love for you to respond. What is your dog doing currently? Next question to ask yourself is, how quick does your dog recover? Meaning, how fast do they go back to, what was normal, And I'm not going to, we're going to skip trigger stacking. Julie, I know he had mentioned it before, but we're just going to talk about it briefly in here. But recovery, how does your dog recover? Do they go back to doing what they were doing before? If they were sleeping, here's a good question. They were sleeping like Opal was on the couch. Julie literally just showed me, right?
Yeah.
And she barked, and then does she go back to the couch and sleep? How quick does your dog recover?
That can be a really important tool to even time. How long is this going on, and how quickly do they return to their, baseline behavior? Yeah. Some dogs will come back to their state immediately within minutes. Some dogs are a mess for days. Some dogs you find 2 or 3 days and they won't go outside anymore because that sound that they heard was outside. Right? And the third question to ask yourself, I'm going to read these comments in just a second. The third question to ask yourself around this is, how much is it impacting your dog's life and your life? Meaning, I remember, and I hope she's here, is Amy and Wiley. Amy got to the point where after 4 o'clock, she no longer took Wiley out for a walk. During this time of the year in Sunset Beach, not at all anymore. Why? Because there was fireworks every night and she couldn't predict when they were going to happen because they were so unpredictable at this point. Right? That was 2 years ago. Last year wasn't so bad, but 2 years ago was really bad. And that was right when COVID, everyone was like celebrate. I don't know what was going on 2 years ago, but it was over the top.
So she got to the point where she's like, I can't take her out anymore. And I said, just take her out really early. Give her that long walk at 3 o'clock instead of 5 or instead of 6, 7.
Yeah, and some
Right.
dogs actually, like Wiley, shut down completely. Like won't walk, won't move, won't take food, won't accept pets. Just and it's really sad to see that your dog just kind of powers down like a robot because they can't handle the overstimulation.
So grab a journal, grab a little notebook, and write those 3 questions down and then respond. So if it was 5 minutes, like you see here from Holly, 5 minutes. So it takes her about 5 minutes to recover.
But
That's
what
not
I'd like to know is 5 minutes from what noise
right.
and what does it look like when she's recovering?
And I love this description right here. Jumping is an action that we can say, okay, it's getting better because she's no longer jumping, right? You're not just saying she's acting crazy, because crazy can mean a lot of different things. You're literally, Holly, great job right here, describing exactly what it looks like. And then you go 5 minutes, a tangible thing that we can say it's getting better. In order for you guys, just think about children in school. In order for us to track our progress, we need to know where we're starting from. So write it down. Write it down. Write it down. How long is it taking to recover? What are the triggers? What are they actually doing? So in this case, let's say we said, okay, Holly, let's work on this. You've got jumping, barking excessively, which I would say, what does excessively look like, right? Does that mean, 5 barks and she stops, or is she barking straight for 3 minutes? Okay. So
Amber has a really great description of what her dog is, and you can see that kind of detail about what happens immediately, where do they go, and then where do they feel comfortable, or where does their body end up in all of this?
the only thing I'd like to add to this is, how long does it last?
How long does it last? Yeah.
Yeah. When the noise stops, how long does it last? Right. And what do they do the next time they come out? Do they kind of, creep on out? So write all that stuff down, because in order to track, in order to implement a plan, you want to know if the plan is actually working. So let's say you have a dog that's jumping, spinning, panting, pacing, 5 different things are going on. Well, maybe the time is exactly the same, but you implement some training, but you only notice that only 4 things come up. That's progress, guys. So with some dogs, it might take a lot longer than others, but at least it's progress. You go, okay, you know what? It's working. Let me keep going. However, on the other hand, if it's getting worse, then maybe the noise that you're trying to help them recover from is way too loud, or it's already just like way too much. So you might have to change. All right. So some common loud noises. Let's just break these up into 4 categories, and there's many different types of noises. But let's just see what's reasonable and what's a little over the top. We do this with our reactive dog. When we're doing orientation, we'll say, well, is that like okay? Is that normal? Is that, what I would call like, that's not so bad, because that's pretty common? Or is that, oh crap, that's a little over the top. That's a little overreactive, right? So let's just look at these four loud noises in these categories. So we've got social noises outside of your home. So you're out there, and these are usually sounds of people and dogs, going across your front lawn, or kids maybe playing outside your house, or car doors.
Your
Yeah.
neighbors are having a barbecue next door, like not a massive party, but maybe just a family get together. So the scale can go up and down, but what is an appropriate reaction and what's an overreaction?
So frequently we would say, if your dog heard something like that, I would most likely go, what is that? I would personally go and look and go, where's that noise coming from? I do it all the time. I go, where's that noise coming from? So your dog might alert you, hey, there's some kids outside playing, or someone's on our front lawn. And it can be a little dramatic at first because it's the way that they respond, right? They don't do anything all day long. And for the first time in, 5, 6 hours, someone walked on your lawn. Can you believe it? And they might like alert you. So just make note. Okay, well, maybe that was kind of, you know what? I'm not so bad. That's not so bad because there might be other things that are more priority. The next is sudden noises. Sudden noises while you're outside. These would include fireworks, thunderstorms, large booming sounds of construction. In the Long Beach El Dorado Park, we have gunshots because that's where the Long Beach Police Department practice. So we hear gunshots there. So usually dogs who are afraid of things like that are going to end up hiding, shaking, drooling, pacing, climbing into anything, a little area in your house, because that's a pretty loud noise, right? And I would say that's reasonable to say that. Like they don't know where the noise is coming from. It's reasonable, right? Noises from inside the home, right? Your house heater or your air conditioning kicking on, your blender going on, the vacuum cleaner. I mean, if those of you guys that have puppies, you were like, desensitize your dog to the sound of the vacuum cleaner, right? But a lot of times people didn't do that. So there's a lot of noises inside the home that your dog runs away from. It's not the actual item. Usually it's the noise that's coming from the item that they can't control. They don't understand, right? And then the last category is the most dangerous. It's when you're out and about with your dog, and let's just say you feel so comfortable that you end up like, oh, let me check my messages on my phone. You feel so comfortable. You're out and about and you're walking your dog. These noises are the ones that are going to kick your butt. These are the noises that are going to, this is where we see most dogs bolt and run away.
Or an owner that ends up, scraping their knee or falling and,
Yeah.
breaking their hand or something like this. This is the things that catch us off guard that we don't usually get a call about until someone is injured or until they're pulled into the street, and then someone gives us a call. So if you are approaching even that level, we are here to get ahead of the game, to be a little bit more proactive about those noises.
Absolutely. So there's noises outside of the home that your dog, when you're out and about, that you do want to be mindful of. So if you live in a busy city, Julie, you're moved right there to Belmont Shores. They've got, the Long Beach Grand Prix that's going to happen. They're going to bring those cars, those Formula cars right on Belmont Shores. Also the motorcycle kickbacks. All the sudden noises, those noises are really scary for a dog. So going about making sure that like at any moment this can happen is just having that kind of understanding is going to help you. If you are one of those people that have a dog like that, it's going to help you to understand, like, keep a hold on the leash or put your leash on your belt, or just be mindful that it can happen at any time, certain times that you go out on your walk. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through here. All right. So what does stress actually look like? How do you know if your dog is stressed out about something?
Yeah, there's the really common ones like lip licking or drooling, but some of the, this is a great picture representation, but some things are going to be a little bit more subtle, like increased shedding, or your dog's skin is drying out. If you're noticing more dandruff, maybe not eating, or eating as quickly as they can, and then, walking away into a different area. Some dogs become a little bit more touch sensitive. Maybe they love to snuggle with you 360 days out of the year, but during this time, like, they don't want to be quite near you, or they're going away to your room instead of hanging out with you on the couch. Those are some pretty common things that we see around this time, that it can be really difficult to pinpoint, like, this is coming from this area. Tummy issues, big time. Our brain and our stomachs are very intimately connected. So diarrhea, even constipation, dogs having accidents in the house, even though they're fully potty trained. This is very common when we have holiday seasons or just a
Mhm.
overstimulation in our neighborhood.
So keep an eye on these things. Make during a season of fireworks or a season of the Grand Prix in your neighborhood, be mindful of like, oh, my dog's tummy's upset and they didn't eat anything weird. That's kind of strange, or shedding. So write that down and go, okay, there must be something. I mean, obviously it's a sign of some kind of, could be a sign of stress, but just be mindful. Keep that in mind. There's a lot of other ways to know if your dog's under stress, but these are some of the common ways. So if you've got other suggestions or other ask, or like, is this, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. So what does stress actually do to your dog? Well,
It's, yeah, just like us, it can do a number on the inside that doesn't always show up on our faces or with our partner. That's the I'm feeling fine, but you're probably not actually in the best mood possible.
longevity is one.
Mhm.
It can cut a lot of years off your dog's life. That's for sure. That's what stress can do, just like us. A stressed dog can be a miserable dog. Can you imagine walking through your day-to-day life and being afraid and scared all the time? Mentally, physically?
It lowers our immune system. Just like when we're super stressed, you're not getting enough sleep, you're not absorbing the right kind of nutrients. So things like the sniffles can turn into a full-on eye
True.
infection, or things that they would usually be able to clean out on their own can end up with big time yeast, or cuts end up much dirtier than usual because they may even be excessively picking at themselves, which then counteracts all the good work that you're hopefully doing in the cleaning and the handling.
But behavior changes is one. A stress pup can be reactive and jumpy, and things that I hear that we hear quite a bit. I'll get a call and they'll say something like, all of a sudden, right? And so when we hear all of a sudden these things happen, then you go back and you go, okay, so what's happened lately over the last 3 months? Have you moved? Has there been a difference in people that are there? So we find all the time that there's something that triggered that. Digestive problems, which we've already mentioned, but the effects on the system of your dog, diarrhea, vomiting, things like that. Why is my dog vomiting? Could typically be stress. Accidents that Julie already mentioned. Obsessive behaviors, which Julie already mentioned, like the licking, hot spots, right?
Pacing in your house, like maybe they usually take a midday nap, and now they're just constantly going from room
Mhm.
to room to check on everyone and everything that's going around.
And then what we would call aggression, which would be basically dogs that are now growling, snapping, biting when they didn't do it before. Right now, you walk in, you go to pick up your dog, and they snap at you. You see it all the time. It's got to do with your dog being stressed. All right. So a stressed dog should never, ever, ever be punished. Should never yell at your dog for being naturally scared, right? Instead, we're the humans. We're the ones that need to think, what's going on? What can I do? We do this all the time with our kids. Our kids are stressed. We go, what can I do to make things easier? We do that with, employees, and as the owner of a company, you'd be like, what can I do? How can I make things easier for you? Right? We have to do that for our dogs too.
And your dog can read your stress. So 85% of human communication has nothing to do with the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? It's nonverbal communication. It's your body, your stance, your tone of voice, which can vary during the holidays, especially if you've got people coming over and you're cleaning up the entire house when maybe that hasn't been done in a while. You're starting to let your dog know that there's something big coming, and that pre-worry then can end up in a big explosion. Or maybe you're having a disagreement with your kids or your husband or your partner, and you guys are much more fussy towards each other. You're going to notice some more erratic behavior around the dogs. And then what happens is your stress increases their stress, and their stress increases your stress. And we get into this really dangerous spiral of frustration and stress and then shutdown. So much like we would with any kind of family issue, we need to go deeper than what's on the surface. We need to really look at ourselves as well, and how we're working with our dog, how we're talking to our dog, the level at which we're sometimes even standing over and looking at your dog can be a really intimidating stance. So maybe getting down on the ground and being on their level like you would do with a kid. A lot of it has to do with your facial tension, your body posture, your voice. So if you think you can fake not being stressed around your dog, you can't, because they're excellent lie detectors.
That is so true. And so a couple things to think about when you're feeling anxious, like you think they're going to react while you're out and about, is to take a couple deep breaths. And initially, take 4 seconds to breathe in, 4 seconds to breathe out. That can help lower your heart rate and help you to de-stress a little bit. Also, just kind of ignoring a situation. So going, I'm going to look at this beautiful tree for a second and see if I can lower my heart rate. Like, just purposely getting out of your own way kind of thing can help you lower your heart rate and help you just kind of get out of how you're feeling. A lot of us anticipate something's going to happen, and that anticipation is causing us stress. Your dogs can read that, guys.
So being really present in the moment, sometimes just taking a break and saying, okay, what do I hear? What do I see right now? Not what am I thinking is going to happen in 5 to 10 minutes, but is my dog barking right now? No. Then I get to celebrate and be calm in that moment, instead of worrying about the next person who's going to knock or yell and how they're going to react.
Absolutely. So how can you help? So we're going to go into day 1 of exactly what to do. Now that I know, and now we know that you are committed to taking action, here are the steps. We're going to make a plan. We're going to show you how to action the plan, and then we're going to ask for 100% commitment from you. That once you get done, you say, I'm going to do this today. That is all that we're asking. It's going to be so simple that there's absolutely no excuse why you can't do it. Unless your dog's not with you. Like some of the dogs that we have here are probably with us instead, right?
Well, Holly, you get to work with Wyatt and I get to work with Lena. And so we're going to work on it together, but apart.
Love it. So here is day 1, is desensitizing your dog to the fireworks sounds. And all that means is making your dog less sensitive to the sound. Now we're going to use fireworks as the example, but you can use whatever sound you like. Here are your steps. Play the sound at a very low volume. Watch your dog's body language. And what you're looking for is a sign that your dog hears the sound, but you're not taking them over the top. What do I mean by that? Their ears aren't going back and they're running out of the room. Instead, maybe their ears are twitching, but they're not moving all the way back. So you're going to be playing that sound for this drill. Typically you play the sound for about 5 to 10 minutes at a very low volume. You want to teach them that sound is not such a big deal. Okay. You don't have to have them do anything. All you're doing is you're finding the volume in which you can play that sound that doesn't elicit them to go run off and go take off or start showing you those stress signals. right below that sign, below that level. Then what we want you to do is take a note of that volume. But how do you find the sound, right? So we're asking you, the first step is find the sound using YouTube. Or if it's a doorbell, record your doorbell. Take your phone. Usually most phones have an ability to record. Take your phone and put your phone right over the audio sound, or do it on YouTube, or do it on your computer. But you've got to find that recording. You know why? Because you need to be able to control the volume. You're going to start off in your home where your dog feels completely safe with very little distractions. All you're going to do, you're not going to play the TV. You're not going to play. All you're going to do is play that sound at the lowest volume that you can in order for your dog not to get stressed out. Write that volume down. Now, later on, after, you're going to take that sound and you can take it out in the real world. You can do it outside. But for right now, today's challenge is to take that volume wherever it is and in the home, play it for about, in the activity for today, it says 3 minutes. And you're going to do that 3 times. Okay. So I'm going to play a video. Any questions on that, Julie?
I'm not seeing any, but if you guys have any questions, comments, if you want to know what your dog's threshold is, please reach out on the comments or contact us through Facebook, because we want to make sure that no more dogs ends up in shelters, no more dogs end up on the street, no more dog has to suffer through this holiday, because it really can lead to a lower quality of life long term.
Absolutely. So here are my dogs. We started 2 weeks ago. So here is, let me just go ahead and play this one right here. So what we have here is playing fireworks. I showed on a phone and on the TV. You want to be able to control the volume. And I'm just watching body language. There's a lip lick there. That's about the level that I can go at. And I measured that level and said, okay, this is the level that my dogs are at. Right. After a couple minutes, you can then increase the volume. So play the sound for a low level for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then you're going to do this again later on for 2 or 3 minutes. Each time starting at the same level that you left off, and then gradually going up about after 1 or 2 minutes that your dog is not showing signs of stress. So play the sound. Watch your dog. Look at your dog. Watch their body language. If they're okay with it, keep the sound right there for a couple minutes before you gradually increase the volume. The goal for today is to just play that sound for approximately 3 minutes. So gradually desensitizing your dog to the loud noise over a period of time, you can then progress to changing their response or how they feel about the noise. So today's challenge day 1, hashtag challenge day 1, is what noise are you going to use? So you'll say challenge day 1, I used fireworks. And 2, what volume did you use? You want to start this today. Okay. Even if you go, I don't want to post anything on Facebook. That's fine. But do the challenge anyways, because you're committed to helping your dog. So all of day 1, it might take, we talk about making your dogs less sensitive to the noise, it can take months. It could take weeks, it could take days, it could take minutes, but it can also take months. So in order for them to hear that sound and actually go, oh, it's fireworks, in order for them to feel like that, in order for them to change their emotional response, we have to first say they're not that sensitive to that sound. So I want everyone 100% to take action.
So even if you don't shoot a video, if you're a little bit camera shy, maybe just type out how it went. You know, my dog did great for 2 minutes, but then maybe got a little scared in the third minute. Or the second or third time we did it, my dog could ignore it totally, because what that does is it gives us really good feedback, and it encourages other people that may feel like either their dog is succeeding, or we don't ever want you to feel like your dog or you are failing. So by just typing things out, just like writing things down in a journal, it keeps you accountable, and it helps us understand where everyone is at during this challenge.
Absolutely. So that was it. Today we went into more about why we wanted you to commit and to take action. We talked about one thing today, which is mainly the challenge of the day, is make that sound less sensitive to your dogs. If you started off with volume 14, by the third session, can you get the volume up to 20? If you did, you're ready for day 2. You're ready to implement some change in the way they feel. And let me tell you a little, just really quickly before we sign off, my dog is no longer like, when I do fireworks now, I've done this for 2 weeks now. Now they actually run over to their dog bed. They hear fireworks and they run over to the dog bed smiling, because it means something different than it did before. All right.
Yeah, and my dogs sleep through the fireworks, but as you heard, the knocking or the ringing of the doorbell is much more sudden because we didn't have a doorbell at our last house. So this is all new experience for them, and I get to work on that during this process as well.
Awesome. So desensitizing your dog to the sound of whatever, choose that sound, start to use that sound. So for you, Julie, record your sound on your phone, lower the volume, not changing their response yet, just mainly like they hear it and they go, huh? Was that what I think it was? Because right now you can't control the volume of your doorbell except unplug it and put a little sign up there, which is a totally different thing. But all right. Any questions before we sign off? Now, days 2 through 5 are going to be a lot less information. We're going to go right into some stuff tomorrow right away.
I see you, Deanie. It's 6 p.m. there, so that's absolutely all right if you want to start on this first thing in the morning. I probably wouldn't do it that late at night as well, because we want our dogs to rest and relax and wind down before bedtime. But I think a great opportunity for training is that first thing in the morning. You've got a bright and peppy pup, and so that's a great time to kind of get into these desensitization exercises.
Yeah. You're welcome, Holly. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This is day 1 of 5. We've got 5 days, and we've got an ebook that's a flip book that you'll be able to have access to, so you can share it with your family, share it with your friends, and you can even have access to it on your phone or iPad, so you're not having to actually go onto your computer, which will be nice. But that's it for today. Day 1. That's a wrap.
Bye, guys. Have fun.
Bye, guys.